Counting our way through complex rhythms can sometimes be a real challenge, but luckily I found a great piece of music that helps us do just that. And in fact, it's Bach's transcription of the Adagio from Marcello's Oboe Concerto. Are you sitting comfortably? Then let's begin. Hi, this is Tommy with Tommy's Piano Corner, the place for returning pianists or indeed anybody who loves piano to share tips and ideas of how to get the best from this great hobby. If it is your first trip here, then please do think about subscribing. Simply hit the icon in the bottom right hand corner of your screen now and it's all done for you. As we all know, rhythms are really created by using different subdivisions of notes in different orders and different quantities. Starting from a whole note, we can subdivide by 2 to get smaller and smaller subdivisions. So of course from a whole note we go to a half note, then from a half to a quarter, and then from a quarter to an eighth, then to a 16th, then to a 32nd, then to a 64th, and perhaps even beyond. However, I found that switching from one to another can sometimes not be as easy as it might look. Now, I'm sure there are plenty of exercises we could use for this, right? But as regular viewers know, I'm not really a great fan of arbitrary exercises, and I always try to develop my musical skill from within music itself. I came across this Marcello Bach piece from a conversation on Twitter of all places, so I downloaded it and had a try. Now, I'm sure you'll find it's very familiar. However, if you've never learned it properly, you'll also find that the finer details you probably won't remember. I think one of the benefits of using this piece for this purpose of improving rhythms, if you like, is that it uses pretty much every value of note from a half note right the way down to a 64th note, which is quite a big variety in one piece. I remember the first time that I sight read this piece. Now, you can play it very slowly, and the notes themselves aren't massively difficult after all, as you can see. However, I found that it very quickly fell apart under my fingers because of these constant changes in rhythm. Try it out for yourself. Just give it a go, sight read it nice and slowly, and if you find, like me, that you really struggle with these changes in subdivision of notes and the rhythms that that creates, then I think it'll be a good piece for you also to have a try at. Now, unlike most tutorial videos, I don't propose to go all the way through the piece here. Ultimately, the idea is to get better at working things out for ourselves, so there's no point in me trying to tell you what I actually did. So I'll just start off with the first few bars and give you some ideas of how you might approach getting this kind of counting into your head nice and easily. Of course, you need to think about how you want to count, and different things will work after all for different people. You might want to keep a metronome going so that you've got something to give you that steady pulse. You might prefer to count out loud, you might prefer to count in your head. Whichever one you choose, I don't think it actually matters that much. Now, the piece is actually written in 3/4 time, but what I found that if you want to try to get to the lower subdivisions, such as 32nd notes, if you count 3 to the bar, it can be a bit difficult. So what I chose to do was count 6 to the bar instead. And clearly I don't mean count it as though it's 6/8, no, just count 6 to the bar. What this then meant was that if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., if I want to go from the 8th notes to 16th notes, I can go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And then if I want to go from 16th to 32nd, I can use 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 5E and a 6E. You see what I mean? Nice and easy. Now we have our basic approach to counting worked out. Let's start applying that to the first few bars of this piece. Unfortunately, Marcello is very kind to us in that first he starts off with eighth notes. Then he has eighth notes and 16th notes together. Then he goes to a set of 16th notes and 32nd notes, and then to a whole string of 32nd notes together. You might want to start working on this first without even touching the piano. So let me explain. Think of a nice steady pulse in your head, and then count that pulse from 1 to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Keep it nice and steady. And then add to this the idea of 1 and 2 and at the same pace. So you get 3, 4, 5, 6, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and. Okay? Once you've got that, then try going from 1 and to 1E and a 2E. So that would give you something like 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 5E and a 6E. So if you get the idea, you build basically the rhythm one on top of another using this mode of counting. And in fact, what we've actually done here, when you think about the score itself, is we've managed to go from eighth notes all the way to 32nd notes. Now, if you like to use a metronome, you could do this with your metronome. Maybe set it to something between 50 and 60 beats per minute and have that as a quarter note. Once you feel comfortable with that, you can now try thinking about the score and actually use the counting wherever there are notes to be played. So let me try and show you with the first couple of bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and 3, 4, and 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 5, and a 6, and a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 5E and a 6E and a 1, 2, 3. Once this then starts to feel comfortable, add the piano. But what I would say is try to wean yourself off the habit of counting aloud or even counting in your head as quickly as you can. Try just to get the feel for the pulse and the rhythm of the music. Now, as we turn the page, at least in the score I have, it's over the next page, we now start to see lots of different combinations of these basic note values, and in fact we even see them going up to 64th notes at one point here. So at this point, over to you. I'd recommend you just try working through it phrase by phrase until each one feels comfortable. You can use the same counting technique. You can try working on this either at the piano or away from the piano, wherever you find the most comfortable and productive way to do it. However, before you do start, let's just take a quick minute to talk about the ornaments, because yes, you probably noticed there are plenty of those too. As I'm sure you're aware, ornaments really need to be interpreted based on the period in which the music was written, sometimes even the composer. And basically, they're a set of embellishments that composers added to music to make it more interesting. But you can also think of them as a type of shorthand that a composer would use to save themselves a bother of needing to write out a lot of individual little notes. And I think this is certainly true in Baroque ornamentation. The first ornament we see is a lower mordant, and it's played by starting on the main note, then playing the note below before returning to the main notes. Next, we find two types of trills here. And the first, you might confuse this with an upper mordant, as this same sign is often used for that in later music, so in Chopin's music, for example. However, here, when you see this particular sign, you read it as a trill, wherein you'll play the note above, the note itself, the note above again, and then the note itself. The next type of trill we see looks very similar, but on closer examination, you can see that it's got an additional little wave. So the cymbal's that tiny bit longer. And when interpreting this, I've generally just added one set of notes to the trill. The next ornament we see is an appoggiatura, where you basically play that note and then subtract its value from the note it precedes. The final type of ornament we see, I'm interpreting as a trill followed by a turn. I haven't found an official name for it, so if you do know, please let me know in the comments below. Here, I believe the turn is inverted, as you follow the shape from below to above and then below again. So then, give it a go and see how you get on. Let me know in the comments. What I would recommend is, because we're trying to teach ourselves counting here, avoid the temptation to listen to too many recordings of it to start with. Maybe first just find a recording of the actual oboe concerto played by oboe and orchestra. I'll link one in the description box for you. Just so you sort of remind yourself or get a feel for the piece at first. But after that, put the recordings away and work through this yourself, phrase by phrase, thinking carefully about the timing and the rhythm that you need to maintain. One tip I would give you though is record yourself fairly regularly so that you're able to play back and critically listen to whether or not you're getting the right rhythm, whether or not your counting's correct. And what you'll find is there's plenty of software out there where you can actually slow down a recording by quite a lot without changing the pitch. I mean, it doesn't sound fantastic, but if you want to be able to listen to the counting and the rhythm that you're getting, this is a good way. It's an acid test, if you like. If you're not already, then please do subscribe to Tommy's Piano Corner. Don't forget to hit the little bell icon so you're notified of new videos as and when they're released. I thank you very much for watching and look forward to seeing you very soon.